Hello and welcome to my channel. In this tutorial we're gonna do this stitch, a very easy stitch, 2 rows repeat, and these are the sides. The stitch is not reversible. This is the back of the work and this is the front. It's a little bit bumpy for a blanket, but with this stitch I will suggest you use a soft yarn unless you want something to be rigid and a little bit stiff. Yeah. Okay, you can make scarves, so many things you can do. Well, infinity scarves, unless if you do a scarf, unless you don't mind that the stitch is not reversible. Okay, this stitch works with odd number of chains, so I chain here 11 chains or 13. It doesn't matter, I think 13. So we're gonna skip the first chain, and into the second chain from the hook we're gonna do a single crochet, and this row we're gonna do single crochet in each chain. So I'm gonna move to the next chain and we're gonna do a single crochet, and so on, each chain single crochet. I think this stitch is nice to work with variegated yarn, or you change colors. So you're gonna change colors when you have the row with a single crochet. So you're gonna do 2 rows, 1 row of single crochet and 1 row with a bumpy stuff. So single crochet in each chain, and the last chain single crochet also. And now we're gonna chain 2, turn your work. We're gonna skip the first stitch, and into the second stitch we're gonna do 3 double crochet together, go back again into the same stitch and do the second double crochet and the third one, 4 loops on the hook, pull the yarn through all 4 loops. Now yarn over the hook, we're gonna go back to the first stitch that we skipped, and in there we're gonna do a puff. You're gonna do the puff as big as you like. I'm gonna go only 3 times, so once, go back again, second time, and the third time. If you want the puff bigger or smaller, you go more or less. So now we're gonna pull the yarn through all these loops, not this one. Yarn over and pull the yarn to the last 2. And we're gonna do like this until we finish this row. So we're gonna skip the next stitch, and into the next we're gonna do 3 double crochet together. So 1, 2, and the third double crochet. So we do all these 3 in one stitch. So pull the yarn through all 4 loops, then we're gonna go back to the stitch that we skipped, and we're gonna do a puffing here. So once, the second, and the third time. The first row it's a little bit not so comfortable because you don't have much material to have a good grip on, but it's okay. After this row it's gonna be okay. So we're gonna pull the yarn through all these loops, not the last one. Okay, and now yarn over and pull the yarn to the last 2 loops, and we're gonna repeat. Skip the next stitch and into the next, 3 double crochet together. So 1, 2, and the third one, 4 loops on the hook, pull the yarn through all 4 loops, and now we're gonna go back to the stitch that we skipped, this one, and we're gonna do a puff. Once, twice, and the third time. We're gonna pull the yarn through all those loops, and then yarn over and pull the yarn to the last 2. And we're gonna repeat. We skip the next stitch and into the next. We're gonna do this cluster of 3 double crochet together, pull the yarn through all 4 loops, and then we're gonna go back to the stitch that we skipped, and we're gonna do a puff. So once, twice, and the third time. Pull the yarn through all those loops, and then pull the yarn to the last 2. We skip the next stitch, and in the next we repeat. And this stitch has 2 rows repeat. You can do with only 1 row, which means it's this row, that's it, if you don't want the single crochet in each stitch for the next row. But I think for it gives a little bit, breaks the puffs a little bit, they're not stuck up on top of each other. So here we have 2 stitches left. We're gonna skip the next stitch, and into the last we're gonna repeat. We're gonna do 3 double crochet together, 2, and the third one, pull the yarn through all 4 loops, and now we're gonna go back to the stitch that we skipped and do a puff in there. Well, the first row, it's a pain in the neck for some of you, not all. And the third time for the puff, I'm gonna pull the yarn through all those loops, and then the last 2. Now we're gonna chain 1, turn your work. It's gonna look like this. So for example, if you want to do this stitch in round, this is gonna be the one that you might choose instead of the other side, or maybe you're gonna like the other side. So now with the single crochet this row in each stitch. So the first stitch is here, we're gonna go in there and do a single crochet, next stitch single crochet, next stitch single crochet, and so on. Single crochet in each stitch, and the stitches are big enough that you can see them, you cannot miss them. So if you don't want to do this row of single crochet, then you're gonna repeat the same. You're gonna skip the first stitch, you're gonna do the 3 double crochets in there, and then you're gonna go back to the first stitch that you skipped in the beginning, and you're gonna do the puff. And now at the end we have the last stitch, which is kind of tilted here, so don't forget to pick that up and do a single crochet. You're gonna chain 2, and you're gonna repeat the second row. So you're gonna skip the first stitch, and into the next we're gonna do 3 double crochet together, and then we're gonna go back to the first stitch that we skipped, and we're gonna do a puff. And now it's much easier to work, to do this row, because we have some material to grab. So again, we're gonna skip the next stitch, and into the next we repeat. I think this is a nice stitch for a blanket. And if you use a little bit not so soft yarn, it might stay quite stiff on the couch. We're gonna skip the next stitch, and into the next we repeat. Yeah, but I think this stitch looks really nice if you work in rounds, like for a hat, and maybe you're not gonna do the single crochet row, you will just go directly. I wanted to show you in case you want to eliminate this 1 row of single crochet and you just want to do only this row. I just want to show you, at least in the beginning. Skip the next, and the next we repeat. Hey, stay there. Okay, I'm gonna go back and do the puff. Yeah, and especially if you have a thick yarn, this is quite, you know, bumpy, the stitch. So you can do like a mat or a carpet. So we're gonna skip the next stitch and to the next, which is the last, we're gonna repeat 3 double crochet together. And we're gonna go back to the last stitch, the stitch that we skipped, and do a puff. So let's say you don't want to put the one row of single crochet in between the bumpy things. So you're gonna chain 2 with 1 row of single crochet. It kind of breaks a little bit the bumps. They look like roses. I don't know. So what are you gonna do? You're gonna skip the first stitch, and into the next you're gonna repeat 3 double crochet together. And you're gonna go back to the stitch that you skipped, and you're gonna do a puff. And this way, well, in a way it's much easier. The stitches are big enough here, especially for the puff to do. So you're gonna skip the next stitch, and into the next you're gonna repeat. And you're gonna do a puff. Go back to the stitch that you skipped. And you're gonna do like this. Skip the next stitch and into the next, 3 double crochet together, and then you go back to the one that you skipped and do a puff. So they're gonna be kind of on top of each other. So if you don't like to be too compact, or maybe you like this way, then you're gonna put 1 row of single crochet in each stitch. So when you finish, for example, if you choose to do just this row, it's like 1 row repeat, the last stitch is here. Yeah, the last stitch is here at the end. It's this one. So you're gonna do 3 double crochet together, and then you're gonna go back to the stitch that you skipped, and you're gonna do a puff, and you're gonna chain 2, and you're gonna repeat. But if you like, with the 1 row in between, like this one, then you're gonna do just this. And this is the back of the work. For a scarf, unless you don't mind that the stitch is not reversible, you can do a scarf. And these are the edges. I think for a blanket it's nice. It's quite stiff. So I worked with a 4.0 millimeter crochet hook, and even this one, it's done with 4.0 millimeter crochet hook. But this yarn, it's a little bit thinner than this one, and it's a little bit loose. Yeah. So if you don't like so compact, then you're gonna use a bigger crochet hook for when you use the yarn. Yeah. If you want a little bit loose, at least half of number you can use. Yeah. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Give it a try. You might like this stitch. Thank you for watching.